I recently had one in a client, and it was a really difficult day. We had an accident where one of the employees got hurt very badly, and it was interesting because I was fading out right in my process. I was the new leaders had been hired, and but the biggest part was the person who got hurt was hurt by a piece of equipment, and there was a crew with them during that time. So we had a crew of 5 people who had witnessed it. So that was very difficult. We had leaders who those employees worked for who were directly impacted, and then we had 70 people who knew all of the people involved. So for me, as I was fading out. New leaders were coming in. I was not as active as I normally am as a leader, but this moment required that I return to being the strong leader. And so a couple of things that I did: I stepped up right away and took the lead, gave orders, which is not my normal natural style, but when you need to do that, you step up and do it, and I did. And a couple of things that I really want to highlight is I would not let the 5 people who were directly impacted go home without looking me in the eye as a leader. And to me, that was an order that I put out there. And it was very important as they got a moment with me, each individually, before they went home. It was emotional for them, and that came out. And because they knew as a strong leader that I was there for them, um, they were able to express themselves and kind of just relax a little bit. It was still traumatic, very difficult for them. The other thing is, I told each of them individually that they needed to come in the morning. And many people would say, well, in that traumatic situation, why would you do that? I did that so I could see them and make sure they were okay, and that their emotions through the night. And of course, none of us slept. It was that big of a deal. But they came in the morning, and I would let them leave, and only one of them left. The rest of them wanted to be around their teammates. So what it allowed to happen is to show strong leadership. People followed me all day long. What I said, they did without question. And I knew that I needed to be on and say the right things, and I did. And it allowed them to relax. It allowed them to know that they were going to be okay. And it allowed the other leaders who were impacted as well to know that I had their back, and that they were going to be okay. Very traumatic week, very difficult, emotional week for all of us. But it was very important. I think the other part is I showed my emotion during the event. Um, I got in front of the group and told the other group who was not involved that we had a man down, and that he was seriously injured. And I talked about people sharing their emotions. And during that time, I shared mine. Right, I didn't break down in tears, because as a strong leader, that would not have been appropriate at the time. But they could tell that it was very difficult for me, and that my voice cracked, and that I needed them to know that that was okay. Right, I needed to model that I am impacted, and I was. I did break down later, and that is another part of it. Right, is I didn't hold it in. And there was a time later in the night when I knew that everyone on my team was home and they were okay. Then I could let down and have my breakdown. And I did, and came back the next morning, and the healing started the next morning, which is the most important thing. So to me, that strong leadership is needed in the worst of times, and and I got an opportunity to do that, and then slowly back out again, because the other leaders stepped